Listen, I have a lot of regrets in my life, and that includes makeup purchases that I skipped out on. So today we're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes that I regret not buying and that are still on my mind. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Rachel, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. We're going to talk about some makeup regrets, things that I missed out on that I wish I hadn't, and that, who knows, I may pick them up in the future. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts on these palettes if you have tried them or if you also really are having FOMO like I am. I'm going to link all the palettes down below in the description box if you want to take a closer look at them. But I have 10 palettes to talk about. So the first one I want to talk about is the M Cosmetics Divine Skies Magic Hour palette. This came out way in the beginning, I think one of the first launches that she had years ago. And it is just this tiny little compact 6-pan palette. I absolutely love the compactedness of it. Is that a word? I'm a sucker for a small little curated palette. I love that it's like a rosy neutral palette. The color story gets me. I never picked it up, honestly, because A, it's pretty darn expensive for a tiny little palette. It is $40. And you don't get free shipping unless you spend $50. I didn't really feel like there was a lot of other things on her website I was super interested in. I may be tempted to pick this one up though. I think it's so absolutely gorgeous. If you've tried it, you've got to let me know your thoughts. It just looks so ethereal and pretty. I've heard wonderful things about her eyeshadow formula. It's definitely one that I still think about to this day after all these years. Like a long lost love. We're gonna get a little dramatic in this video, I feel it. The next palette I wanna talk about is the Nabla Cutie Palette Platinum. I'm not really one for a cool toned palette. I'm much more of a warm toned gal. First of all, it's called Cutie. Is that not so cutie? But it's this little tiny curated 6-pan palette. It definitely has more metallics to mattes, which I don't prefer, but the metallics in this look so beautiful, especially that silver right in the bottom center. Oh my goodness, I'm like a sucker for a good silver shadow. This one just looks so gorgeous and like fun for a night out type of look. Do I go out at night? No. But in my like mind, in my fantasy, I would be wearing this on a night out. It is absolutely gorgeous. I've also heard wonderful things about the Nabla eyeshadow formula. It did go on sale at the last Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale and I did not pick it up, and I definitely should have. It was 50% off. I think if I do see it on sale, I will pick it up at some point, but this one I still really love it. The next one on my wish list is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Primrose palette. When this first came out and first launched, I was not really interested in it. It was a neutral palette and I wasn't too crazy about those two big, I guess, supposed to be blushes in the same packaging as the eyeshadows. But when I heard the reviews on this and how people were raving about how gorgeous it looked in person, I was definitely having some FOMO. I'm not gonna lie. This is another one that's really pricey. It's $55, but it's ABH. I get it. This is definitely one that I'm keeping my eye on. I know that if you have this, you probably like it because everybody raves about it that has it. They just talk about how amazing it is. I definitely missed out on this one. It may be one I pick up in the future. Let me know your thoughts. The next palette I want to talk about is the Persona Identity 2 eyeshadow palette. So I have the Identity 1 and it is one of my favorite neutral palettes in my collection. I did do a video not too long ago about my favorite neutral palettes in my collection. I will link that one down below if you're interested, but that came in very high at the top. I think the formula is gorgeous. The mattes are really beautiful and the shimmers are what really stand out. They're more of that smooth, not super textured, but just smooth and shiny metallics that are really good if you don't want to enhance texture on your lids. And so when I look at this palette, it is a little bit more colorful, a little bit more jewel toned of a palette. But if the formula is like the Identity one, which I'm assuming it is, I'm very interested in this one. I love that pop of yellow, that pop of green, and I like that the mattes go very light to very deep. I'm very interested in this one as well, mostly because I know that the formula is really good at Persona. This is another one that, like, from the jump, I wanted to buy this palette, but I think it came out at a time where I just was not in a place to be buying tons of makeup. I'm still not in that place, but I'm doing it anyway. but it's the Artist Couture Supreme Nudes palette. People have raved about how amazing this palette is. It is a neutral palette, but it's got cool tones, it's got warm tones, it's got neutral tones. It goes very light to very deep. And I know this isn't like a huge deal to a lot of people, but I love the packaging on Artist Couture. I have one of their face palettes, and it's like that Polly Pocket, very 90s acrylic plastic, but it still feels like, doesn't feel cheap. It feels still pretty elevated. So I think the packaging is the same as this. It looks like it. Definitely a palette I'm keeping my eye on. If it ever goes on sale, I'm sure I will pick it up. At $45, it's a little pricey, but I've heard nothing but great things about this palette, and I wish I had it. That's the truth. This is a newer addition to my FOMO list. This is the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude eyeshadow palette. So I bought the Rose Quartz palette at the very end of last year when it released, and it is absolutely amazing. Like, absolutely amazing. One of my favorite palettes in my collection. It's so unique. The formula is so good on the mattes as well as the metallics, especially the metallics. They're so gorgeous. I had seen the Naughty Nudes come out a long time ago. Not interested, didn't really care. It's $67 for goodness sake. Like, I was fine to just pass on it. But after having the Rose Quartz palette, and I've heard that this palette is really good quality as well, I'm like, I want you. Because it's a neutral palette. It goes light to deep. It's got different textures in those metallics that look similar to the Rose Quartz, those more marbled shades. It does have that kind of jelly weird shade. I don't care about that. I won't use it, but it doesn't bother me either. I definitely want to pick this one up. I don't want to pay $67 for it, but if it does ever go on sale or whatever, I will probably pick it up at some point. It does look gorgeous. Another palette that I skipped out on, mostly for the sake of price, but also for the sake of, I just feel like I've got these shades in my collection, is the Natasha Denona Retro palette, the midi-sized retro palette. But once again, when the reviews started rolling in, people raved about it. Tons of people put it at the top of their like ranking all my palettes for the whole year. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm missing out. It does look absolutely gorgeous. This like pinky, mauvey, cranberry type of color story. It looks beautiful for the fall time. I really like Natasha Denona's formula. It wasn't one that I was really interested in picking up, but now after hearing people rave about it, I am definitely having some FOMO. I'm definitely keeping my eye out for it. Did you pick it up? Let me know. The next palette I want to talk about is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. So this is a palette of all matte shadows, and they're all just kind of browns, also a black and a white. Doesn't seem that exciting, does it? No, and that's what I thought too when I saw it. I was not very impressed, didn't really necessarily think I needed it. So I didn't pick it up. Once again, YouTube has really like changed my mind with it. So many people rave about the quality of this palette. They rave about how wonderful it is to have a palette of all matte brown shades, so that if you are missing a transition shade or you're missing a certain undertone of a brown that you might need in your look that you're doing, this is a really good palette to have. You can pair it with any kind of shimmer shades that you have, any super shocks that you have. And I do really love like an all matte palette. I have the Blend Bunny Blends palette, which I talk about so much on this channel, but the Master Mattes is all more neutral shades, which I think would be really helpful to have in my collection. So this is one that I definitely missed out on, but it is one that I'm still thinking about deep inside. The next palette is from a indie brand called Kyla Beauty. They used to be called Musée Beauty, and they do absolutely gorgeous palettes. I have a couple of their palettes. They're based on artists and art, and this is the Honoré palette. It looks like a gorgeous, peachy, warm, springy palette. I love that. Again, it's more condensed, it's more curated palette. The shimmers are kind of like the Persona shimmers, where they're more smooth and shiny without tons of texture. I just love a warm tone eye in general, so this is really calling out to me. I love that most of the shimmer shades are light shimmers. That is my preference as well. And I just really want more from this brand because I've really loved what I have tried from the brand. This is definitely one I want. I want it. And then the last palette I want to talk about is the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse palette. Ooh, this one looks stunning, like absolutely stunning. I have one palette from Lunar Beauty, the Strawberry Dream palette, and it's absolutely gorgeous, but I really don't use it that often because it is very bright color story and it's not really my usual preference. But I like that this one is mostly neutrals with some pops of blue, and it just looks stunning. And I love his formula. I love the formula of the Strawberry Dream palette, so I think the formula is probably going to be really nice on this one. I've heard great things about it, and I just love me a neutral palette. I love that the mattes go from light to deep. The shimmers, there's all different kinds of shimmer shades that you can add to the look. Stunning. I want to definitely try more from Lunar Beauty. I've really loved everything that I've tried from the brand. If you love Lunar Beauty and you have any of his products, let me know down below what products. Maybe I will place an order. The unfortunate thing about all these palettes is they are all still available. So I'm trying not to talk myself into them, but you know, that's what this video is about. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below, of course, letting me know about your thoughts about any of these palettes, but also what are some palettes that you didn't pick up that you are having FOMO, things that you missed on the initial launch that you still think about and you still really want to buy? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, both beauty and fashion videos, and I would love to see you back on my channel. I want to thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time. Bye.